I'm just going to talk in this one. So there's not going to be any videos, there's not going to be any flashing images. So for those of you that are going to be bored by hearing somebody talk, move on already, okay? I know that this is the nature of today's audience. Unless they can be captivated by something that lasts 20 seconds, they can't cope with the information that's being presented. It's rather sad. But the reality of people becoming like that is that they don't have the attention span to work out whether what it is they're being presented with is authentic or not. That makes them susceptible to being defrauded, makes them susceptible to being lied to, and they won't be able to detect the lies. That's due to lack of knowledge. It's due to the dynamics of them being kind of uh, gaslit, but also bigged up as being told just how clever that they are. Oh, you're so knowledgeable. You're so intelligent. Just like every fan of Formula One, you're a fan of Formula One. You know more than other people because you like a sport where it's a highly complex technical sport, don't you? So you know that it's a highly complex technical sport because that means that you've got the intelligence and understanding to admire the Emperor's new clothes. And this is the thing, people think that they've got that intelligence, people think that they know, and the majority don't. They won't like hearing it, they won't like anybody saying to them, actually, you don't know. They won't like it when somebody says to them, you've been lied to. Because this is it's been said before by other people, it's actually easier to lie to somebody than it is to convince somebody and expose to somebody that they've been lied to. People don't like admitting that they've fallen for a lie, and if they've taken a lie hook, line, and sinker, they hold that to be true. And when somebody exposes that as being a lie, they will try to validate what it is they already believe, what they've already been led to believe to be true. And if there's enough that's bolstering it, they'll still continue to believe it. Because what is it that determines somebody's belief? The manner in which information is presented to them can reinforce the concept of whether something is true or not. So if you're being taught something, let's go back to school. Your teacher taught you something, so most people had faith in their teacher. It was an adult that was in a position of transferring knowledge to pupils, a trained professional, and therefore you believed what it is that they told you. They had status. They knew more than what you did. You didn't know anything about what it was they were telling you, and therefore you took what they were saying to be authentic information. You trusted them. Why else would you doubt them? What motive would they have to lie to you? So you accepted that. When we move on from school and college and university, where that same dynamic exists, we come into the world, and actually through that period, we are existing in this world and we're fed information via media, via the likes of television, and increasingly, and now more often than not, um, what's available digitally to us, okay, online, whether that be social media, whether that be digital media, feeds us information. And we are led to believe that these sources of information, there are some that we can immediately discredit, there's some that we don't trust, but many of them, because they appear to be a big organization, paying their so-called journalists money to provide us with insight on a certain topic, we take that information as being authentic information. And again, we are trying to learn about a certain topic and relying upon the information being presented to us to increase our knowledge on it. And we are supposedly being fed this information by industry professionals who have access to information that then they are transferring to us to inform us, to make us more knowledgeable about something. So why would we question them? And this is the dynamic. And if enough seems to make sense, and if it matches desire, and they can get away with it, and there's other factors that form part of this as well, it works. And what they manage to do is they manage to convince enough people that what they're saying is relevant and authentic, and enough people just accept it and don't question it. And as a result, that's all they need to do. When nobody questions what's going on, they just carry on doing what they're doing. And I'm using the example of Formula One to show people the same thing happens in everything in life. When they start talking about the economy, the budget, the cost of living, all of these things that affect each of our daily lives, they're all a manipulation. The way that it's presented to us isn't the truth, and what's actually being presented is a validation for things being the way they are, and certain interests are making huge sums of money out of a situation that costs us. Okay, all of us, our existence costs. In order to live, we have to pay money. We have to pay far more to live than what it really should be. And the reason we're paying far more is because a significant proportion of that money goes straight into the pockets of certain wealthy people, wealthy concerns, who are able to then take that money and live a completely different life to the rest of us. It is a general kind of situation of essential slavery. You have to go and work your existence, and then that provides you with a level of existence that is set at a certain cost level, and that is far higher than it need be. But then the money that you pay goes right to the top, and they can just do whatever they want with it without consequence. Now, over the course of time, there's supposed to be things that have been put in place to counter that, to prevent that dynamic from happening. And each of those regulatory mechanisms has been gradually eroded and corrupted so that they don't do their job, they don't enforce what they're supposed to do, and that has enabled those at the very top to have control over so many things, which means that they can lie to us about what's really going on, they can cheat, they can defraud the system, they can break the rules, they can break the laws, there's no consequence for doing that, they can benefit, and ultimately those of us that aren't at that level pay for it. We're kept living the lifestyle that we have to live, where we are paying the prices that they set, being told, oh, you're living your best life, you're doing really well, you're really knowledgeable, you're this, conditioned by the media to be told you're this, you're this, you're this, isn't this great, isn't this great, be excited, all the mind conditioning of the media. And really, they're the ones that are just profiting from everything. It's the same billionaire interests that are ultimately running everything. Now, again, like I say, already rambling on like this will have lost quite a lot of people. There's very little I can do about that. I try and present my videos in different styles to try to engage as many people as I can, because I'm aware that different people learn in different ways. Different people engage in different ways. But you know, it's what it is. In Formula One, as I say, Formula One's an example I'm trying to use to try to wake people up to the dynamics of the way that the world is being ran at the moment. Probably always has. I took it for granted, like most people. And there comes a time in your life where it might be that you've gone through your life and you've questioned a number of things because there's lots of things that just don't make sense. And I remember as a teenager, there were lots of things that were going on in the world and they didn't make sense. But rather than worry about it, rather than waste my energy on it, which I felt it was a waste of energy because I felt powerless to impact it, I just ignored it. Okay, various things are going on. There's wars going on in the world, which I don't think we should be warring. We should have learnt the lessons from the past. So the idea of nations being at war with each other and people losing their lives, that doesn't achieve anything. I don't know why the world stands by and lets things like that happen. It shouldn't. We're supposed to have laws, we're supposed to have rules so that that doesn't happen, and still in 2025, the world stands by and watches innocent people get slaughtered. Now, whilst we sit on the sidelines, feeling that, well, we're okay because it's not happening to us, what if it did happen to you? And there'd be a lot of people who go, oh yeah, don't worry about that, it never will happen to us. It never will happen to us. We're okay. We're free. We're part of the democratic Western world. That's a lot of people's perception. That's a lot of people's attitude. You don't realise what the democratic Western world actually is. It's essentially we're living under we'll call it the American Empire. Okay, throughout the history of time, various empires have existed where they've sought to dominate the world, go around the world, enslave the various people around the world, rape and pillage all the different countries of the world to steal their resources and grow wealth. Steal that resource of the country to benefit its own interests. That's what regimes have done over the course of time. And at the moment, we're living under what we'll call it the American Empire. And anything that's a threat to that is the enemy. China is a threat to that, so China's the enemy. But you look at what America really does. America just invents that somebody's a problem, goes in there, obliterates the regime, and decides, oh, we're going to now set up a new economic structure here, and all these American big businesses can seize control of the oil after they were looking for the weapons of mass destruction on that war on terror. Now, you can research every conflict since the Second World War and where America has invaded and what's the outcomes been. Which regimes have they changed? Who has benefited? You only need to look at Ukraine as an example. America, oh, we'll give you the weapons to defend yourself. Well, we want your resources. Are the American citizens benefiting from that? Or is it that there's several big businesses in America that are in line to make trillions? So the American machine, we'll call it America, okay? But like I say, most American citizens, the majority of American citizens, they won't benefit. They'll get nothing out of this. They'll send their men over, and there'll be certain men that will lose their life in conflict, feeling that they are, fighting for a purpose. And yet again, do your research. There's many men that have supposedly served in that manner, that have gone through that, and they'll tell you they weren't representing the interest of the people. They were essentially an army of American business going into places and killing to take over a land where the resources could be then stolen, essentially, by American big business to make huge sums of money out of. And those companies make huge sums of money, and people within those businesses live the life of billionaires. Now, again, Some people won't be able to cope with that. They'll call me the crazy one. They'll call me the one that is hateful. They'll call me the abuser. This is what happens if somebody speaks about things that either people don't understand or people want to silence you. They'll project negativity about the person doing the talking. I don't like this guy. Look at him. He does this. Ha ha. You know, this is what they do. They try to undermine. Now, I realised this a long, long time ago, and I don't really care. It is what it is. Ultimately, there's plenty of people that you can get this information from. If you go and look for it, I'm far from the first person to be saying this. I'm not the one that discovered this. I've learnt this from other people. And when you do your research, you're like, wow, it's actually true, isn't it? It's actually true. But you don't believe me. I'm not asking you to believe me. I'm asking you to actually go and find out for yourself. Don't trust me. Don't trust anybody. Go and find out for yourself. Go and see what information is out there and go and work out what makes sense. Always keep asking why. And you'll find that the root cause of many, many things comes back to money and the dynamics I'm talking about. Now, Formula One is an example of this same thing. The show, right, firstly, Formula One is motor racing. They have proclaimed themselves as being the pinnacle of motor racing worldwide. Just like the Premier League in England for football has marketed itself as being the best league in the world. Okay? Now, people will have their opinions, they'll argue about, oh, yes, it's the most competitive, blah, blah, blah. Players get paid a lot of money, it's attractive for players. But they'll make the claim that it's the best league in the world. Now, if it was that much better than every other league in the world, then surely you'd expect a team from this league to be winning the European Cups each and every year, wouldn't you? That doesn't happen, does it? Again, we can look at the different dynamics where you could make different cases for that. But what I'm trying to say to you is things are marketed a certain way to sell things to you to be a certain way. Because ultimately, they want you to believe that what it is, the product that they are selling, is worth you spending your money on it, investing your time, your emotion, your money into. So they hype it up to be this amazing thing. Formula One is that, hyped up to be this amazing thing. This is the best form of motorsport in the world. That's what they market it as. So Bernie Ecclestone did that. He cut a deal decades ago with the FIA to take over the marketing rights for Formula One, where he then marketed this sport in a manner which made it grow, the audience for that sport grow hugely. The interest in watching cars go round a track racing one another increased hugely due to the manner in which Bernie Ecclestone made the show what it was. And those teams and those competitors benefited from that. Okay, if you can turn a sport into something where it attracts a bigger audience, then the amount of money that's attached to that sport becomes much, much bigger. So take a sport, for example, let's take badminton as a sport. Okay, quite a lot of people play badminton recreationally. I would say it's highly likely that more people in their life have played a game of badminton than there has been that has engaged in motorsport. But does a professional badminton player earn £20 million £20, $20 million a year. In fact, does there exist a professional badminton player? Can you earn a living solely by playing badminton? I don't know. I very much doubt it. And why is that? Well, when you play a game of badminton, how many people will go and watch it? Unless it's in the Olympic Games where you might have a sports hall and a reasonable sized crowd. But it's only going to be a sports hall crowd. It's only going to be a crowd of a maximum of 5,000 people. What audience are going to watch a badminton game? And how much money are people willing to pay? If you go to a Grand Prix, you're looking at £200 a ticket. Who's going to spend £200 on going to watch a game of badminton? Very few people. Therefore, with that being the case, TV companies aren't really interested in broadcasting badminton very often, and spectators aren't that interested in going to watch badminton very often. So where's the money? Well, money comes from sponsorship, businesses that want to attach their brand to that event so that their brand gets exposure from that event. And if you're not getting exposure to potential customers for your brand from the audience that attends or the television audience that should be watching this, then there is no value to you paying money to use that as advertising for your brand, because you're not actually getting your brand to anybody's eyes for them to see, for them to then put it into their mind to consider your brand when it is they're going to consider purchasing something that your brand can offer. Hence, the money does not get put into badminton. Hence, the money is not there for the players to have as earnings from it and the event organisers to take from it. So if you're able to have a sport which you can market correctly, you can attract an audience, then this becomes your cash generating machine. Now, in order to do that, really people are looking for competition. Okay, if it's just a parade, if it's just a procession, then people very quickly turn off. Perhaps people were turning off at the idea of one driver and one team dominating it, and the people thinking it being a foregone conclusion as to who was going to win an event. So if that's the case, why bother even watching it if you think, well, it's a foregone conclusion that unless something untoward happens, it's highly likely this person's going to win again. This person's going to win again. Now, we'll see that during the turbo hybrid era that they call it, where Mercedes dominated it and Lewis Hamilton won 7 of the 8 championships. Rosberg achieving the other somehow. Now, Hamilton's only credited with winning 6 of them because one of them was gifted to Max Verstappen. People won't like that. They won't like that. But that's what happened. We can look back to the 2023 season where Red Bull won every single race but one. People were turning off. People were looking at this going, well, what's the point in building up to a Sunday to sit in and watch a Grand Prix where you just think the same thing's going to happen every time? I'm not going to waste my Sunday doing that. I'm actually going to do something different. I'm not going to let my life revolve around a Grand Prix weekend when I don't find it that interesting. So it turns people off. Viewing figures go down. The brands that try to advertise see less value. The money that they're putting in to the sport so that their brands reach the eyes of the many millions that can potentially then go on to buy their product. If its viewing figures are down, they're not getting value for money. We're paying this team in Formula One, to advertise our brand on your car in anticipation that 100 million people are going to see that, and When them 100 million people decide that they want the kind of product that we sell, they're going to think of our brand, and we will achieve sales through that. And if they're not getting that level of eyes on their brand, they're not going to be investing the money in sponsorship. The money going into the sport decreases, the value of the sport decreases. The teams lose, the drivers lose, the FIA loses, the FIA earns a proportion of its money from the money generated by Formula One. So it's in everybody's interests to make sure that this show is popular and earns the money. Say earns the money, attracts the money. It's in the interest of the broadcasters, who are contracted to present it in a certain way to excite people, so that people are excited to tune in about it, because it's all linked with money. So what we got is they plan these things out. They have strategies. When this sort of thing happens, it doesn't happen by chance. Okay, like so many things in life, they do not happen by chance. They happen by design. Tried and tested formulas that have been used for years. I'm going to just read this comment that's in the centre of the screen at the moment. It says, "These kids don't know what driving standards are, thanks to what F1 media has turned into. As long as their favourite driver wins, that's all that matters. You see the same thing these days in other sports like basketball, with its media and stars. Their favourite guy walks, carries, and basically ignores all of the rules of the game and competitive acumen, but they don't care as long as he succeeds. The rules are now different in basketball to promote a guy that's not as good as they make him out to be. If they endorsed the real rules and standards, quite a few of these current stars would be exposed." And this is key. People of the same ideology are running everything now. Sports are all doing the same thing. It's all about money. Look who the investors are. What is the notion of investor? You put your money in so that it becomes a bigger pot of money. They're not philanthropists. They're not just a billionaire with a few 100 million to spare that they can't think what to do with it. So you know what? I'm just going to have this as my little toy, my little hobby. I'm going to spend £200 million on a racing car team. Now these people, if they put in £200 million into a racing car team, they want 250 or £300 million back at some point. That is what they do it for. That's what they do it for. So how are they going to get their 250 or 300 or even more million back? Well, you've got to hype everything up, haven't you? You've got to demonstrate that, oh, the value has increased. How does that value increase? More people are interested. That's the only way you do it. It's now worth you spending more money to advertise your brand in association with this, because more people will then see it. There's your value. Where else is the value of Formula One? Where else is the value of badminton? So it's all about money, and the way that they have gone about it to excite the fans is the Emperor's New Clothes. They tell you it's a highly complex technical sport. Oh, that attracts some people straight away. You know, they think they're a level above. Okay, they think they're at a level within society where they've got the intelligence, because we've all got degrees these days, haven't we? Okay, we've all got degrees and we're all capable of being managers age 21, and we're all capable of being a CEO at age 23, and we're all knowledgeable, and we're all capable of understanding this highly technical, complex sport, and we've all made it in life when we've got some followers and we're an online influencer. This is the way we've become. So people like follow it. Oh, and that's trendy. It's trendy to be into Formula One. Look at the people that are on the telly that have gone to the Formula One events. They're all the good-looking, pretty people, looking cool when Martin does his grid walk. Look at all these celebrities. Look at all these famous and popular people that are associated with Formula One. That's the sport that you should be interested in, because these people are interested in it. It's all part of the marketing. It's all part of it. And, they'll ask them their opinions and they know nothing. Yeah, I like it. I like this driver. Why? I just do. Because us Brits will, or whatever it might be, whatever, it could be a nationality thing, it could be their favourite brand, their favourite driver. There's nothing. They've got no technical knowledge about anything. They're able to tell you what they like. Right? That's what it's all about. Doesn't mean anything. Everybody's got personal preferences. That's nice, but that encourages you to follow something. Encourages you to then have an allegiance, because if you follow something, you pick a team, don't you? You pick a team. You pick a driver. You demonstrate that your allegiance to the team by buying that team's merchandise. You buy the t-shirt, you buy the cap. You buy a cap for 50 quid that costs a fiver to make. Yeah, somebody's making money out of that significant amount. You buy a t-shirt for 40 odd quid that costs a fiver to make. Yes, it's all part of the merchandise making machine, isn't it? Money making machine. So, this is what they do. They make it exciting. They create the drama. They create the rivalries. They create icons of the sport. They present that you are watching, in this era of the sport, one of the greatest of all time, two of the greatest of all time, 10 of the greatest. No, they can't do that many. People would still, some would still believe it, but many would just go, no. Now we know you're bullshitting. They can get away with so much. But this is what they do. They can't go, yeah, actually we're just going through an era where there aren't that many greats at the moment. We can go back to football. Look at international football. Go back to kind of 1998, 2002, and you look at that Brazilian team there, where you've got Ronaldo, Rivaldo, Ronaldinho. I think you've got Kaká in that team as well. Roberto Carlos, Cafu. Some of the absolute greats of the game, all in the same team. You show me a team that exists like that anymore. It just doesn't. Okay, and they'll try and tell you that football, it's amazing. No, look, we've had some amazing teams over the course of time. Okay, but you go through different eras. It's the way it is. Sometimes you have a bit of a lull. Okay, sometimes, yes, the team play might be really good because of the way that it's coached and the way that the structure of play and everything, and so you get great team play. But in terms of the collection of players being all-time greats of the game, well, that level of individual ability and individual flair is not the same as it used to be. In fact, some of the individual greatness is being coached out of players because they can't display that because they have to conform to a team structure and a team kind of strategy. It's become that much more stricter in terms of the way that coaches demand their players to form part of their system, rather than have the freedom to express themselves in the manner that some of the greats of the game have done in the past. But that, again, I'm going off at a tangent there, but that's just an example that we get hype things up. Okay, they will hype players up as being the great now. This is the new icon. This is now the face of the sport. This is the face of this brand. Go out and buy these football boots. Go out and buy this brand of thing because this icon, this star of the game is the face of it. This is what they use them for. So they hype them up. And yet some of these people just aren't a patch on some of the players that we've seen over the course of our lives and know what their capabilities were. And the same happens in Formula One at the moment. We're getting the Max Verstappen narrative of just how great Max is. But that started at the start of the 2021 season at the Bahrain Grand Prix, the season opener of the 2021 season. Max Verstappen had won 0 world championships. I think he'd won around about 8 Grand Prix at that stage. I'll do a video on it in a few weeks' time, and there'll be a reason. Won about 8 Grand Prix, I think it was. Might be as much as 11 or 12, but I think it was about 8. And Martin Brundle, at the start of the race, when Lewis Hamilton, at that stage, is a 7-time world champion, 90-odd Grand Prix victories, Max Verstappen, a 0-time world champion, between 8 and 12 Grand Prix victories, Brundle describes it, and 2 of the all-time greats of the sport. That's not 2 of the all-time greats of the sport with the contrasting records that they've got there. One is statistically got all of the top records in the sport pretty much. The other, well down the list. How are you mentioning them in the same breath? But they hyped it all up, didn't they? They hyped that all up. And why did they hype it all up? Because they had to sell it to you. They had to encourage you to watch it. They had to make you think that you were watching something worth watching. And excited people. And kiddies get excited by the crashes. Kiddies get excited by the racing. Kiddies get excited by seeing cars go wheel to wheel. Now, we all like seeing motorsport carried out well, and we like to see cars overtake. We don't like just to see processions. Agreed. But if it's racing, it needs to be authentic racing. There are rules for what you're allowed to do within racing. And it's important because with any sport, when there's moving parts to any sport, there's risk. Every single sport there is a degree of risk. Okay, you can be playing badminton, and there's the risk of you going over and spraining an ankle, breaking an ankle. Okay, there's a risk of you playing a shot, and if you're in close proximity to your opponent, as you smash your racket forward, you could smash them with your racket if they are close to the net and you are close to the net. There's risks. Okay, so badminton's not a great example, admittedly, but football, for example, there's risk. There's players running around a pitch, sometimes running at their top speeds, and there's other players trying to take the ball off of them, and you're allowed to swing your leg at that ball to kick the ball so that they don't have it. But when people are moving as fast as they can, there's the potential for error, isn't there? And you swing your leg and you kick your opponent, and that then causes them damage. So there's rules, isn't there? Certain things are determined as being fouls, and if it's done in a way where it's out of control and dangerous, then that foul incurs consequence. Okay, and that consequence could be that you are booked, you get a warning that if you do that sort of thing again, you get sent off, or it can be you get sent off the pitch. And that happens in many sports. There's things that are determined foul play, not acceptable within the sport, and if you infringe that, there's a consequence for it. and it's the same in Formula One. There are parameters for what is acceptable and what isn't, and if you breach that, there should be a penalty for it. What the sport of Formula One has done, it has completely changed or presented a change in those rules. And what that change in the rules has done has benefited one driver, and that driver is Max Verstappen. There will be people that come here and go, "Oh, this is a Max Verstappen hate channel." It's not a Max Verstappen hate channel. I don't like Max Verstappen, and I don't like him for the reasons that when a sport has been altered for the benefit of one competitor, well, why is that happening? I don't like the fact that somebody's getting benefit, that something is being contrived for their benefit. So I don't like the fact that he's the beneficiary of that dynamic. I don't like the way in which he drives, which is dangerous and poses a danger to his fellow competitors. I don't like the example that that driving sets to other people, because if other people try to replicate that style, the jeopardy is that in whatever formula they're driving in, even if it's karting, if people started driving their cars at their opponents in the way that Max Verstappen does, the potential there is for harm, for the risk of injury. And who's to blame? Well, it's because these people believe that that's okay, and they believe it's okay because that's the example that they've been set. And when the media are talking about it, are just pretending that's great. What you're seeing is greatness. Well, people believe it to be greatness. And people believe, oh, well, that's the way you do it. That's the way you go about it then. You know, if the football commentators were telling you that a dirty tackler like Vinnie Jones was one of the best footballers the game has ever seen, and the style of tackles that he used to put in are some of the best tackles you've ever seen, then what you'd see is the kids that play football on Saturdays and Sundays would be playing like that because they'd be trying to emulate what they think is a great way of playing football. And what you'd see is hospitals would be filled up with people with broken legs that have had their legs broken playing football due to challenges like that. So the sport has got a responsibility to anybody that is watching, to anybody that's likely to engage in that sport at any level, to impose the rules correctly, to marshal those rules correctly so that they're applied uniformly and correctly, and to educate the fans and the competitors of that sport correctly. And it's not being done. And the reason it's not being done is for the benefit of the financial interests. Liberty Media looked at what Bernie Ecclestone had built up and decided that it wanted to buy it. I think they paid I think it was reported about $4 billion for it. Now, if you've got $4 billion, why do you spend $4 billion? Oh, well, you do it because you want to make back more than $4 billion. So it saw an opportunity to buy something that it thought it could grow its value. How is it going to grow its value? Well, it's going to make changes to it, to market it in a way to increase the number of fans that follow it. That's going to add to its value. So that's what it did. Change things, hype things up, razzmatazz, and it's working. But it's not authentic. It's really not authentic. And it's attracted a new breed of fan, a football hooligan style mentality into the sport. It's turned the sport into a very partisan sport because whilst the Tifosi, we're told, the Red Army of Ferrari has been around for a long period of time, it doesn't, from my understanding of the sport, and from what I feel I've observed about the sport, the level of rivalry and division amongst supporters for their rival teams and rival competitors was never to the level that it is at this stage. When you create that division, you are creating rivalries, you're creating conflict. That all adds into the dynamics. That all adds into the way that people engage with the sport. They keep returning to the sport because people get incited by certain things and they want then to prove their opponent, prove their rival wrong. These people that are the marketing experts, they know how people's minds tick, and so they play on that. They create the conflict. They create all the bullshit stories, the razzmatazz, the clickbait, the bullshit. Oh, and this week this is the latest story, and this week this is the latest story, and people engage with that. They are drip fed the information, thinking they're finding out something that's really groundbreaking or important about the sport. The vast majority of it is all just fluff, all bullshit. The vast majority of it. Now, one of the things that I'm exposing recently is the notion of driving standards and rules of engagement. And in the last video, you've got Anthony Davidson, a former driver, a Sky Sports F1 presenter, so therefore presented to us as being a knowledgeable expert of the sport, talking about these driver overtaking regulations, overtaking rules, overtaking guidelines. They keep switching the names of it, okay? That you can't find what these supposedly are. What you can find in the FIA International Sporting Code is the guide that I've read out. But these supposed driving overtaking guidelines, you can do an internet search for them. And if you can find it, then please post a link to it. Seems strange that I can't find a link to it anywhere. And if it's a public document, why can't you find a link to it, even on the FIA website? And if it's a set of rules for the drivers, why would you keep it a secret from anybody? Why would you keep those rules about how drivers are allowed to overtake a secret? And why would you just have the experts go, oh, according to the rules, according to the driving guidelines, and they'll try and tell you, oh, these overtaking rules that have been agreed between the stewards and the drivers are, and then they'll just make it up at each Grand Prix. Oh, well, it's about who's ahead at the apex. Oh, it's about on entry to corner. It's about being alongside. It's all bullshit. But just take, for example, and this is really what I want you to take from this video where I've been rambling. Hopefully you'll take more than this, but if you take no more than this, they tell you that these overtaking rules have been agreed between the drivers and the stewards. Okay? The drivers and the stewards don't make the rules. The rules of football, the rules of what is acceptable for a tackle in football, aren't agreed between the players and the linesmen. They're defined by the FA, or the global governing body, FIFA, or the European governing body, UEFA. They set the rules. It's the governing body of the sport define what the rules are, what is acceptable and what isn't. Why? They're the people that are ultimately responsible. You take rugby, for example, as a sport which perhaps carries more danger, especially for injuries such as spinal injuries. The manner in which they tackle there, the manner in which players are dumped on the floor, the manner in which they scrummage, for example. Who makes the rules? Who sets the guidelines for what's acceptable for tackles in rugby? Well, it's not the players and the linesman or the referee. No, it's the governing body, the RFU, the governing body of the sport, who has a duty of care to all who participate in the sport, both professionally, internationally, and at club level. Park rugby on a Saturday or Sunday. All of those competitors need to be aware that these are the parameters. This is what is acceptable for tackling. Okay, and the reason that we have to define this is that players are getting injured and we don't want people to get injured, and we've got a duty to ensure that we set the rules of this sport as such that it minimises the risk of these injuries that we've identified. We've identified that if you do it this way, there is a significant risk of injury. So therefore we've got a duty of care to say we're not going to allow you to do that, and if you do that, that constitutes an infringement. And you can apply this to virtually every sport where you can identify risk and the potential for harm. The governing body of the sport has a duty of care to its competitors and to all that compete in that sport at every level to define what is acceptable and to educate those competitors at all levels as to what is acceptable to minimize the risk to all competitors. So this notion of it being, oh, the F1 drivers and the stewards have made their set of guidelines as to how they're going to do it. No. This isn't what it is. This is a global sport series that is under the control of the FIA. And it's the FIA who set the rules for it and who are responsible for ensuring that those rules are applied correctly. And yet the media doesn't tell you that. Every single sport, it's the governing body that sets the rules. Take boxing as an example. Okay, the rules for a boxing contest aren't certainly a professional one. You might see these exhibition ones these days. Formula One's not supposed to be just an exhibition. Formula One is supposed to be a global championship. So if you've got a boxing match which is for a championship belt, then it is contested under the rules of the sport as defined by the governing bodies of the sport. So there are rules of engagement for those boxers, a set of parameters as to what's acceptable and what isn't. Now, both boxers that are the contestants, they're aware of what they are, and they know that there's consequences for breaching that. So, things like you're not allowed to headbutt, you're not allowed to use kicks or your knee, or you're not allowed to put in low blows. And once the bell goes to signify the end of the round, then there are no more blows to be thrown. These are the parameters. There'd be more than that, but these are the kind of things where the governing body has set these parameters, the rules of engagement for the contest, for the way that that sport is contested, and everybody is aware of that. What you wouldn't get is in a boxing match, two people fighting for a world championship belt, the two greatest heavyweights of the day, fighting for the world heavyweight title. The bell goes to signify the end of round 5, for example, and just before one competitor turns to go back to his corner to have a sit down and a drink, the other one swings a massive hit and smacks him on the head after the bell, knocks him clean out. Do the commentators go, "Oh, that's the best punch you've ever seen. Oh, that's incredible. This is the best boxer you've ever seen." No, no, you don't get that. They'd be calling it out as being disgusting. They'd be calling it out as that could kill somebody. This is a sport. But that's not what Formula One does. Formula One, its commentators, those paid people in media, they lie. Davidson is saying to you, "Oh, the drivers and the stewards have made the rules." No, the drivers and the stewards don't make the rules. The boxers and those people doing the scoring ringside don't make the rules of boxing. It's the governing body that sets the rules as to what's acceptable and what isn't. And they do it because they take into consideration all of the things that need to be considered, and they set rules for the safety of all the competitors. These drivers, some of them which are teenagers, some of them are lads in their early 20s, they haven't got a fucking clue. They're kids, okay, that are just happy to be there, they've achieved their lifetime ambitions, but they're not capable of considering all the ramifications of what could be the consequences of these actions. Takes people with a bit of experience and the ability to identify all of the grave dangers and what are the consequences, what are the legal ramifications. We live in litigation culture. If somebody is found to be culpable, if an organisation is deemed to be culpable for the consequences of somebody suffering harm, then that results in a huge legal battle and huge sums of money transferring from one party to another. So they've got a duty of care to cover themselves by making sure they produce a set of rules that are robust and offer robust protection to the competitors of that sport. And they've got a duty to ensure that they apply those rules and punish infringers of those rules. What does Formula One do? Oh, Formula One tells you the person that breaks the rules is the best you've ever seen. That they're just a bit argy-bargy and a bit elbows out and uncompromising. I tell you, the rules aren't the rules. They're new for this season. Oh, these have been developed by the stewards and the drivers. No, they're not. Like I tell you, every other sport, the rules aren't devised for the contest of that sport. What's being the areas of essential combat within that sport, the areas of engagement within that sport aren't determined by the players and those that are the officials at the sport. They're determined by the governing body of the sport. People who set what those rules are that have actually gone through them. They've gone through the scenarios. These rules, they're developed over years and years and years where things have happened and they go, well, we need to change this to prevent that from happening again. So they put this rule in place. And then something else happens. Oh, we need to guard against that happening again. So this is how we modify the rule or put this additional rule in place. This is what we determine as being acceptable now. We need to stamp that kind of behaviour out. Those drivers don't consider that. And as for the stewards, well, there's a different set of stewards for every Grand Prix. Different set of stewards for every Grand Prix. So who's doing the determining of that? It's all bullshit. Why would a TV company say that to a global watching audience that the drivers and the stewards have developed these set of rules that they're all aware of, but they won't tell you what the rules are? Just shows you it's bullshit gaslighting. But you won't believe me because I'm not the expert. I'm not the voice that you trust. I'm not Martin Brundle. I'm not a driver of 10 years. I've not been on the telly. I've not been commentating on the sport for 10, 15, 20, 30 years. Who am I? I'm just some guy on the internet. Oh, he must be a conspiracy theorist. He must be a hater. He must be British bias. He must be a Lulu fanboy. He must hate Max. No, I'm just telling you, this is what's going on. And look at the amount of hate that comes back in my direction. Rather strange, isn't it? Look at all the people that come to my channel to conflict. Those that come every video to pick fault with a video. Those that come every time to try and argue their point. You see, this channel is about exposing Abu Dhabi 2021. Now, again, how many people come here? I mean, look at the top comment there. Max Verstappen. That's got 9 likes. Who clicked the thumbs up to that comment? I mean, this is what we deal with. And then look at the one below. Why do you even watch F1 if you don't like racing? You see, I do like racing, but what you've been conditioned to believe constitutes racing isn't what racing is. You won't believe that because your understanding of racing is how it has been sold to you. You think that that's what Formula One is because that's what Martin Brundle says it is. That's what you see on Sky Sports F1. All the media razzmatazz. Oh, is it this? Is it that? Will this happen? Will that happen? Oh, I know about Formula One. No, you don't, mate. You really don't. But you won't believe me. Instead, you'll want to try and come up with a comment like, why do you even watch it if you don't like it? I'm just trying to educate you. But the thing is, by speaking, not only does it fall on deaf ears a lot of the time, you get people seeking to undermine you, discredit you, silence you. Why do you do that? You see, me, if somebody produces content that I don't particularly like, I don't bother listening to it anymore. I don't subscribe to their channel, and I don't repeatedly go back to their content. And if YouTube recommends it, I don't click on those videos. That's the way I just interact with stuff. And what I don't do either is if I come across a video that I'm not enjoying, then I don't just go, I don't like this, and leave 15 trolling comments. Now, what I do is I've gone back and I've identified the manner in which certain things have been spoken about on other Formula One social media channels, and identified that the manner in which those YouTube content creators have spoken about them have just been complying with the set narrative, and they've not actually, the people presenting are complying with an agenda. They're not supplying you with insight that's valuable. Many of them don't even have that insight. Many of them, they've set themselves up as YouTube content creators, and their knowledge of what is actually going on is shit. Quite a few F1 content creators are absolutely dog shit. Complete dog shit. But many of you will like it. You'll learn absolutely nothing, but you'll think you are. You think you're getting something out of it. Because you don't understand. You don't know what it is you're learning. You don't understand what's relevant and what isn't. You don't understand what's truthful and what isn't. But you think you do. And you can't check yourself. Because the words I'm saying now and that you're listening to now, you've probably switched off already, but if you're still with it and you're a strap-on fanboy, oh, you won't like that. But you won't believe me. You'll believe what you like. And those people in the marketing department of Formula One, they know that. They know that. So, this is what we're up against. But this, again, goes back to the general dynamics of the world. Everything that's taking place impacts us. Actually, pretty much complies with a similar level of dynamic. We are being told about it in a certain way by the media to make us believe it to be a certain way. The governments that run our countries, that should be running our countries for the benefit of the people of the country, well, that's not what it's doing. Just like the FIA aren't governing the sport of Formula One for the benefit of actual sport, they're doing it for financial interests. Whose financial interests? Well, ultimately, who benefits? The biggest beneficiary are those that are involved in the sport and the billionaire owners. So Liberty Media, the billionaire owners, have seen their $4 billion investment in Formula One now grow to what's Formula One worth now? 12 billion? Something like that. So they've benefited. And each and every Formula One team is now worth significantly more. I think the last time I looked, which was over a year ago, I think the average value of a Formula One team was something like 1.8 billion, and it previously was worth, the average was about 600 million. So each team and Liberty Media has seen a threefold increase in its value during Liberty Media's ownership. Oh, they're all doing rather well out of it, aren't they? So none of them are going to expose the truth. None of them are going to expose what's actually taking place. They're all just quite happy. And the team owners and the team investors, they're doing rather well out of it. And the drivers are obviously doing well. They're all getting paid 10, 20 million pounds a year, $20 million a year. And if you're getting paid $20 million a year and doing something that you set as your lifetime ambition to do, well, if you're told when it comes to media interviews, you keep your mouth shut about certain things, otherwise you're not going to be in the sport for very long. Well, you're going to keep your mouth shut about certain things. You're going to protect your position from that threat. You're going to protect both your position in the sport so you can continue competing. You're going to protect that income, because you ain't going to get it doing anything else. These Formula One drivers that are earning $20 million a year, they're not going to get $20 million a year doing anything else. So they're going to protect it. And that's what they do. And hence, oh, well, George Russell was saying, what's Oscar doing here? Oscar said after the race that he was at fault. Well, why? Oh, well, it's because you can't call out Max Verstappen. Look at the drivers like Lando Norris and Lewis Hamilton, who have been the drivers that have been most impacted by Max Verstappen's driving. Both of them drivers have been ran off the track by Max Verstappen at least twice, where Max has gone off the track himself. Okay, because there's forcing another car off the track whilst remaining on track yourself. That's one thing. But when you force another driver off the track and you go off the track yourself in doing so, that's a completely different level. So Max Verstappen did that to Lewis Hamilton at Brazil 2021. He did it to Lewis Hamilton at Saudi 2021. He did it to Lando Norris at COTA 2024. And he did it to Lando Norris at Mexico. Mexico 2024 was disgusting. Forcing another driver off the track and going off the track yourself. That's just 4 examples. There might be more. I mean, there's loads of examples where he's forced a driver off the track and kept just about on track himself. But the ones where you go completely off the track yourself as well, that is next level disgusting. And yet the sport is telling you that's the best you've ever seen. The sport is trying to validate that. That's not okay. That's not motor racing. That's not single seat motor racing, Formula One. That's just not it. But they won't tell you that because they want you to be excited by that. They don't want you to be questioning that. They want you to believe you're witnessing greatness in that. But it's not. It's dangerous. And the sport's got a duty of care to those competitors. And like I say, it's the governing body that set the rules. It's their responsibility to enforce the rules. But you're being told that there's a secret set of rules, and it's the drivers and the stewards that made those rules. And you'll think that I'm lying to you. How many of you work in health and safety? How many of you work in legislation? I bet you it's not going to be that many, is it? But you think you know, don't you? You believe Anthony Davidson, don't you? That it's the drivers that have made the rules. Yeah, the drivers have made the rules, kids. They've decided that it's okay for Max to drive like that. The drivers are all okay with it. No, no, no. It's not the driver's decision to make. It's not the driver that gets sued. It's the governing body that gets sued. They're the people that are responsible, ultimately. That's the way it is. So, I think I've gone on for long enough. I thought I'd just have a bit of a chat tonight rather than get any videos out and prove anything else with other evidence. But like I say, don't trust me. Don't believe everything I say. Go and do your research. Go and find out what's really going on in this world. And these things that you dismiss as being conspiracy theories, some of them are. Some of them are some crazy shit. But there's a lot of things whereby, if you look at things over the history of time, we've been deprived of a lot of information. And who is in control of the information? There's a lot of information that we did never get to hear about. None of it. Who's in control of that? Oh, is that governments in control of media? And if they don't want us to know something, the media doesn't tell us about it? Or is it now that actually that media is owned by billionaires, the super wealthy? And so, because they own what it is that feeds us information, the mind conditioning machine, they'll use that mind conditioning machine to feed us the information that it wants us to believe, it wants us to focus on, in the manner that it wants to present that information to us for us to believe it to be that way. And is that the truth? Or is that just serving their agenda that they profit from? And that's the real truth of it. And I came across an Instagram short. I'm just going to finish this video off with, providing it doesn't cause a copyright block to the video. It will still be left in here. If it prevents the video being shown due to copyright, then it'll be trimmed out, and this will be the end of the video now. But if it stays in, have a look at this.
How do you not believe in any conspiracy theories? I understand not all of them, not most of them, but you don't believe in any conspiracy theories? You just think the government's just batting 1,000 and telling us the whole truth? That's a strong stance to take. And again, as I said before, I don't like talking about politics on stage or off stage. I don't like talking about things I don't feel like I'm truly knowledgeable in. But I do know this. Our government is placed in charge of all of its people. I'm a father who's been placed in charge of just one son. And I lie to that all the time.
And just have a listen to this one as well, because this is quite important. For those people that come here with their opinions, and I'm talking to the strap-on fanboy, you don't like it when I dismiss your opinion, but this is why.
Or everyone's entitled to an opinion, but not every opinion is entitled to respect, because frankly, not everyone knows how to think. Look, if you just agree with every thought that pops into your head, that doesn't really count as thinking. You have to consider the thoughts. You have to think about what you're thinking. You have to question yourself. Sure, when it comes to speaking, confidence is key. But when it comes to thinking, if you haven't learned how to properly doubt yourself, you don't have any thoughts worth saying in the first place. Is this a good thought? Why did I have this thought? What was my motivation? Was the logic that I used to arrive at my conclusion sound? Or really, was there proper logic at all? Have I really just concluded to believe this because it's convenient for me to believe this, and now I'm just looking for arguments to justify that belief? Have I chosen this position because it makes me feel safe, or it makes me feel strong, or it makes me feel justified or righteous or vindicated? Essentially, is this a thought or a feeling? Am I arguing this position because I actually think it's correct, or because I like the way it makes me feel? Sure.
So, here's the thing. Those people that come here with your hate, with your accusations that I'm an abuser just because I stand up to you, okay? Or I call out those people that are perpetrating abuse of all of us, those people who are conditioning us with false beliefs because they're lying to us about the true nature of reality, and they're lying because they've got an agenda. They're being paid to convince us to believe things are a certain way. Well, that's an abuse. That makes them abusers. And then you try and project that I'm the abuser. Okay? I'm just trying to make you see what's really going on. And so your opinion, I don't really care about. You don't even think, you don't even know what it is that is the fundamental proposition here. You'll project. You project that the reason this channel exists is because I'm a super fan of a man. Really? You think that I'm going to go onto social media to make videos because I am a super fan, a super follower of another human being, and that inspires me to make videos about them to champion them? Really? That's not me. That's not me. The reason I began this is because what was presented to the world was wrong. It was presented to us as being a sporting event, and as such, what then took place was a huge injustice, and somebody was a victim of that huge injustice, and the world stood by and did nothing. The way the media spoke about the event was not authentic and was not articulating the event, not presenting the event with any authenticity whatsoever. Hence, I've broken things down to demonstrate what was really relevant. None of global media has ever done that. None of global media has ever exposed the things that I have about Abu Dhabi 2021. In fact, you look at all of the other supposed content creators, the big YouTube channels, none of them have to. So who is able to break things down and demonstrate the reality of a situation? It's nothing to do with my opinions about Lewis Hamilton, who I respect for the ability that he's demonstrated, respect for the accomplishments that he's had and the way that he goes about what he does. It's like a lot of people in that you are public figures that we don't know, we've no idea who they are, we've got no personal link to them whatsoever, we'll probably never meet any of these people in our lives. Some people, you respect them for what they do, what they stand for, you respect them for the talent that they have and their levels of ability. But I don't make 600, 700 videos about them, do I? There's a reason for that. This is a manner in which I can hopefully show people, using this example, the dynamics of a situation. A man appeared to be the victim of a massive injustice. What are the law enforcement authorities doing about it? What are those authorities that supposedly the agencies of justice, what are they doing about it? We should have agencies of this world that stand for justice and right wrongs. What are they doing? What's been the upshot of things? What has the media reported about it? What is the truth that's been presented by media? What is the information that's been presented to people about the situation? Why is that all the same? Why has none of it been able to be identified as truth? And if that's the case in just this example in Formula One, where else aren't we getting the truth? Where else are we being misled? Where else is the information that's being fed to us about a given situation? What is the real truth about it? Because if I can show you that the real truth about Abu Dhabi 2021 isn't the real truth about Abu Dhabi 2021, you can do that with many, many other things, can't you? And the answer to that is, yeah, you can. So open your minds. Don't come here with your hate. Just because you like a certain driver, your favourite is a certain driver, that's not going to change your life. Who you invest your passion for isn't going to impact your life. What is going to impact your life is the things I talk about that you need to wake up to and understand what's really impacting your quality of life, really. Open your mind. See what's really going on. Anyway, to the decent people on here, of which there are many, I appreciate those that are supportive. I appreciate those of you that share your insight and share the same values. It's heartening to see that there are a proportion of society that do see the dynamics in the same way, and it's an evolving process. For myself, it's a continual process of seeking to learn and find out more, because we can only see it from our particular perspective, and we can only see a fraction of what's really going on. So to believe that we know what's going on, who's really controlling things, who's really in control of all the things that are impacting our life, I don't know. I can't give you that answer. But what we can do is assess what is possible to demonstrate and prove, and see the general dynamics of how things operate. And if you deny them, if you deny who's making the billions, how governments are actually behaving, what policies they're actually doing, and who they're ultimately benefiting, whether that is actually protecting the people of the country or whether it's actually benefiting the interests of the billionaires, whether there are existing laws and existing regulations that should be preventing that are just being ignored and overridden. And if you deny all that, then what you're doing is guilty of burying your head in the sand and being ignorant to it all. Thank you for your time.